Disco Elysium plays almost like a tabletop RPG inside a detective story. Most of your time is spent reading, listening, exploring the city, and choosing what your character says or thinks. But whenever you try something uncertain, intimidating someone, resisting an impulse, making a difficult jump, or even pulling yourself together emotionally, the game rolls a virtual dice in the background. Your chances depend on your skills, your clothes, and your previous choices. So a conversation can suddenly feel like a risk. Because even saying the right thing does not always mean your detective is actually capable of doing it. But before Disco Elysium gives you a murder case, it gives you something much darker than that. The first thing you hear is not a mission objective. And it is not someone telling you the world needs saving. It is your own mind, or whatever is left of it, almost trying to convince you to stay gone.
Do you want me to upgrade that to a one-way trip, sir?
And that is such a strange way to begin an RPG. Because most games start by giving you power or abilities. Disco Elysium starts by making death sound peaceful.
You wouldn't like it if I told you what was back there.
You choose to keep fighting and wake up anyway. Not because you are ready, but because the game refuses to let rock bottom be the ending. And the moment you open your eyes, everything is already wrong. You are half naked in a trash hotel room, with a pounding head and a body that looks like it survived something it probably should not have. There are empty bottles everywhere, the floor is a mess, the window is broken. Before Disco Elysium tells you anything about the murder outside, it shows you a different crime scene first, which is your own existence. When you look in the mirror, you don't recognize your face. It is the face of someone who has been destroying himself for a long time. And then slowly other people begin to define you before you can define yourself. And you start to realize that everyone around you knows more about you than yourself. You are a detective, a man trusted with a badge, a gun, a case, and some kind of authority over other people. Except you do not have any of these things anymore, because you were so drunk that you lost everything. No badge, no gun, no memory. That is the hook of Disco Elysium. You are not a hero. You are a complete disaster, and somehow the world still expects you to do your job. In most detective games, being a detective is a fantasy of competence. You walk into a room and notice what others missed. You read people and you connect the clues before anyone else sees them. Disco Elysium begins with the opposite of that. You are not impressive. You are a man who has destroyed his hotel room and erased himself so completely that even basic police procedure feels like something from a past life. You find out that you are a cop from Precinct 41. A station connected to Jamrock, a place so large and difficult that it is treated almost like too much work for one precinct to handle. Kim Kitsuragi, the man who becomes your partner in the case, is from Precinct 57, near the Greater Revachol Industrial Harbor. Martinez sits in the middle of this institutional mess, treated like an orphan district caught between two precincts that argue over responsibility while neither of them really wants to deal with it. After leaving the whirling in rags, the hostel where you have been sleeping, Kim suggests that you call your station and report your missing badge. And that is where you get completely humiliated.
Ask him. Ask him if he's lost his gun too.
He says he doesn't have it.
Dear God, he lost his gun? Oh my, I can't. I can't. Fuck. He lost his... Ask him if he's still got his wiener. Oh man.
They laugh because this is somehow exactly the kind of disaster they already expected from you. That moment tells you more about the main character than any cutscene could. The game does not need a flashback to explain his reputation. It just lets you hear it in the way the other officers react. And you feel embarrassed because everyone else already knows what kind of man you are. And you are the last person to find out. That is one of the strangest feelings Disco Elysium creates. The horror of being known by people when you do not even know yourself. And then the real case starts. A dead man is hanging from a tree behind the hostel. And the world does not care whether you are mentally ready for it. It does not wait for you to become stable before asking you to act. It just hands the job to the worst possible version of you and lets you figure out the rest. Because your character has no memory, the game puts you in an unusual position from the very beginning. You are not role-playing a character with an established personality. You are building one from scratch. And the choices you make about how he talks, what he cares about, are not just dialogue selections. They are decisions about who this person actually is. His politics are one of the clearest examples of this. Disco Elysium lets you pull him in different ideological directions, and the game takes each of them seriously enough that the world responds differently depending on which way you lean. And then there's his name. You would think that would be one of the first things you find out, but it is not. You go for a significant stretch of the game without knowing what he's actually called, which sounds like a small detail, but feels strange when you're living it. Because you are playing a person who does not know his own name, talking to people who do, and the gap between what they know and what you don't know becomes its own kind of discomfort. When you finally learn it, it comes from Everett Clare, the Union boss, a large and unsettling man who delivers this information in the most casually powerful way possible. Your name is Harry Dubois, and somehow hearing it for the first time from someone like him, in a situation like that, makes it feel less like a reunion with yourself, and more like being handed a file on a stranger you are supposed to become. Most RPGs give you a set of skills that work quietly in the background, influencing dice rolls and unlocking new dialogue options without ever drawing attention to themselves. In Disco Elysium, your skills do not just affect your chances. They talk to you. They interrupt conversations. They comment on what you're looking at. They are characters and they live inside Harry's head.
Check your pockets. Check your... Holy fuck. You don't know where it is, do you? Okay, it's gone. Your gun is most definitely gone.
Don't sweat it, Bratan! You don't need a gun to have fun!
Are we done?
He thinks you're pulling a prank on him on the corner of Voyager and Maine.
What makes all of this so effective is that they feel like actual fragments of a person. Pieces of a mind that has been broken apart. Harry does not have a stable inner voice, because Harry is not a stable person. And the game represents that by giving him 24 of them, all pulling in different directions at once. The body has been hanging from a tree for days by the time you get to it. And the first strange thing you notice is that nobody seems particularly eager to take it down. Later you find out that the victim is a mercenary, a man hired by Vilpines, a powerful shipping company, to help deal with a problem they have been unable to solve through other means. That problem is a strike, and it has been going on long enough that it has started to feel less like labor dispute and more like a slow war between two sides that hate each other. The workers who are striking are dock workers, and they have the support of the union, which makes the whole situation far more complicated than the Vilpines would like it to be. So the two sides have been staring each other down in matinees for long enough that the tension has soaked into the walls of the place. Nobody in the district is neutral about it, and almost everyone you talk to has already decided which side deserves to win. The mercenary was sent into this environment to tip the scales toward Vilpines, and someone decided that was reason enough to kill him. That is the case you're supposed to solve. But what makes it so difficult is not the lack of suspects. It is that almost everyone in Martinez had some reason to want him gone. And the people who know the most about what happened are also the people with the strongest reasons to stay quiet. The Hardy Boys are the most striking example of this. They are a group of union men who function as a kind of enforcement arm for the strike. And when you start pressing them about the murder, they do something unexpected. They all claim they did it together. Not one of them, all of them collectively, as a group decision. At some point, while you're investigating the murder, you start to wonder what actually happened to Harry before the game began. The drinking and the blackout are the result of something, and the game is not in a hurry to tell you what. There was a woman, a relationship that clearly meant everything to Harry, and that ended in a way he was not able to recover from. The game calls her Dora, and she left. And Harry responded to that by deciding, in some slow and total way, that he no longer wanted to exist.
You really dropped the ball, Harry. 4.6 billion people. And you failed every single one of them. You really fucked up.
All of it is the aftermath of a man who loved someone and could not figure out how to keep living when that was gone. That is what gives the rock bottom in this game its real weight. It is not just about addiction. It is about grief that went completely untreated for so long that it ate through everything else. The case becomes the thing that pulls him back, and the whole game quietly builds itself around the question of whether someone who fell that far can actually climb back out. Kim looks like someone who woke up on purpose. He's clean, composed, precise, the kind of person who has his life together, in a way that makes the contrast with Harry almost absurd. Because Harry is hungover, confused, barely held together from the night before, and he can't even answer basic questions about himself. But here's the thing, he never turns Harry into a joke. No matter how questionable Harry's behavior gets, Kim stays respectful. He talks to him like a colleague, answers stupid questions, explains things Harry should probably already know, and gives him room to be confused, without immediately writing him off as worthless. And that matters more than it might seem at first, because at the start of this Elysium, Harry has almost nothing left. Kim just gives him the basic dignity of being treated like a person, like a partner, until Harry shows him what kind of partner he is actually going to be. That's what makes Kim so compelling early on. He becomes the first person in the game whose respect actually feels like something you could lose or earn. He's from a different precinct, a different part of the RCM, so he walks into this situation almost the same way the player does. Slowly he becomes exactly the kind of partner Harry needs, because he brings some kind of stability into a life that has completely fallen apart. Because Harry eventually has to face people from his own precinct. People who already know his reputation, who know what kind of disaster he's been, and who are ready to decide whether he is still worth anything. And when they ask him how Harry performed, Kim has every reason to be careful with his words. He's seen the chaos, the missing memory, the strange questions, and the unstable behavior. He knows exactly what Harry looked like at the very beginning. But he's also seen the work. He's seen Harry investigate, seen him push through the case, seen him keep going when almost everything about him was broken. So Kim stands behind him and speaks well of him. Not out of pity and not because Harry magically got his life together, but because Harry actually earned it.
Then the week with him on this case. What is your take?
On the case?
On Lieutenant Geoffrey Dubois.
Well, the drinking, the lost gun, also losing his badge, that's all true. And he's been drinking on the job.
The man sighs deeply.
But despite all this, he is a great detective. One of the best I've seen, in fact. He can talk human beings into telling him everything. And he doesn't stop. In all the time I've spent with him, he has not once stopped pursuing leads, however far-fetched and tangential. He is tireless, madly driven.
That's what makes the moment hit so hard. Kim's support isn't automatic, and it isn't given freely at the start. It's built slowly across the entire game. And for Harry, that might be the most important victory in the whole game. That's it for the video. Feel free to leave your thoughts on the game in the comments, whether you have already played this Elysium or not. And if you like this kind of content, I would appreciate a lot if you subscribed and left a like. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.